his life. I'm going to take care of his family, you know, and I really meant that from here. And that's what happened, but people looked at it different.
Did Bobby Womack really betray his friend Sam Cooke? How could someone so close to Sam do something so shocking? Picture this. Bobby arrived at the funeral in Sam's car wearing one of Sam's best suits and had Sam's widow Barbara on his arm. That's not all. Just 3 months later, Bobby married Barbara.
You want to understand why he made the choices he made. It's not just like an open and closed book. You're curious as to what he was thinking when he married Barbara.
Then if you can believe it, he cheated on her with her own daughter. Yes, it's as wild as it sounds, and Bobby's story doesn't stop there. Let's uncover the truth about Bobby Womack's shocking actions and the impact on Sam Cooke's legacy.
At the Baptist church, the most important thing that I learned was how to relate spiritually to people.
To understand this, let's go back to the beginning. Bobby grew up in Cleveland's rough Fairfax neighborhood, one of 5 brothers in a family so poor they dig pig snouts out of the trash for food. Life was tough, but his mama always told him, "You can sing your way out of the ghetto." Bobby took that advice to heart and turned his struggles into something extraordinary.
There is such a mixture of heaven and hell at the same time coming at you. You can't but to hear the church and the streets.
The Womack family didn't have much. All the brothers had to squeeze into one bed in their small house. Despite the hardship, they found joy in music. Bobby's dad was a hard-working steel mill worker by day and a gospel-singing preacher by night. He loved his guitar more than anything and told his boys, "Don't touch it or else." But Bobby couldn't resist. One day, while his dad was at work, Bobby grabbed the guitar. Playing it felt like magic. It was the only way he knew how to express himself. But he got a little too excited and snapped a string. Instead of panicking, Bobby replaced it with a shoelace and kept playing.
I just loved playing. It was like being able to express myself, not knowing how to express myself unless I had that guitar. Yeah.
When his dad came home, tired from the steel mill, he asked, "Who's been playing my guitar?" All the brothers pointed at Bobby. But instead of getting angry, Bobby's dad said, "All right, let's see what you can do." Bobby started playing, and to everyone's surprise, he was incredible. Bobby mixed gospel sounds with the blues, creating music that made his dad's jaw drop. He even played the guitar behind his neck, long before Jimi Hendrix made it famous.
He says, "I'm going to put the string back on." He says, "But you're going to have to play it."
And I started playing. And I think I was the first one played with the guitar behind my neck before Jimi Hendrix. I hadn't even known him then. But I was playing slide, I was playing everything, and he was shocked.
His dad was so impressed that he didn't just forgive Bobby. He went out and bought guitars for all his sons. That moment kick-started Bobby's musical journey.
They were not allowed to play outside much. He spent their time rehearsing.
And he would always say, if you want to leave the ghetto, being poor, you can sing your way to success.
In the mid-1950s, Bobby hit the road with his brothers as the Womack Brothers. They sang gospel songs and performed across the Midwest. Their big break came when Sam Cooke, a gospel legend turned soul star, noticed their talent. Sam saw something special in the brothers and decided to help them go beyond gospel.
Sam Cooke was like a big brother to Bobby because Bobby was around him more.
But this decision caused a big fight at home. When Bobby told his father they wanted to sing rock and roll, his father felt betrayed. "I worked so hard with you boys, and now you want to sing the devil's music?" his father said. Bobby got a spanking that day, but he didn't give up. The next day, he told his father again that he wanted to sing rock and roll. His father was so upset that he kicked them out of the house. Sam Cooke believed in the brothers and signed them to his record label, SAR Records. He also gave them a new name, the Valentinos. Under this new direction, they recorded "Lookin' for a Love," a reworked version of their gospel song, "Couldn't Hear Nobody Pray." Bobby saw Sam not just as a mentor, but as a close friend. Sadly, their friendship was cut short. In 1964, Sam Cooke was killed at a motel in Los Angeles under mysterious circumstances. The motel manager claims she shot him in self-defense, but there are many conflicting stories about what really happened.
During the funeral, Johnny Morissette, who was on the label, kept crying. He was like this. "I'm sorry, Sam. I'm sorry, Sam. I'm sorry, Sam." He kept saying this.
Sadly, in the early hours of December 11th, 1964, gunshots rang out at the Hacienda Motel in South Central Los Angeles. Even the police didn't seem too concerned at first. When they arrived, they found a man lying dead near the motel office. He was naked except for a sport coat and one shoe. At first, they thought it was just another sad case of violence. But a few hours later, they discovered the man was Sam.
Sam had received a phone call that brought him to that motel with the girl.
Earlier that evening, Sam had dinner at a fancy Los Angeles restaurant called Martoni's. He was with his friend, producer Al Schmidt, and Schmidt's wife. Sam was in a good mood, chatting with friends and showing off a large amount of cash, about $5,000, from his recent concerts. At some point, he met a young woman named Elisa Boyer. She was just 22 years old. Later, Sam and Elisa left together. He told his friend he'd meet him at a nightclub called PJ's, but he never showed up. Elisa wasn't Sam's wife, Barbara Campbell, who was at home with their 2 kids. At 2:35 a.m., Sam and Elisa checked into the Hacienda Motel, pretending to be husband and wife. According to Elisa, Sam forced her into the bedroom and started tearing her clothes. She said she was scared and thought he would hurt her. When Sam went into the bathroom, Elisa grabbed her clothes along with Sam's wallet and cash and ran. She called the police from a nearby phone booth, claiming she had been kidnapped. When Sam came out and found her gone, he got angry. Wearing only a sport coat, he went to the motel manager's office to look for her. The manager, Bertha Franklin, said Sam broke down her door and grabbed her, demanding to know where Elisa was. Bertha said she was scared and acted in self-defense. She fought Sam off and grabbed a gun. She fired 3 shots and one hit Sam in the chest, killing him. The police decided it was a justifiable homicide, so Bertha wasn't charged.
After she shoots him and he proclaims, "Lady, you shot me," he still comes after her, whereupon she grabs some kind of a large stick, and it was a large broom handle or something, and she proceeds to beat him until he collapses.
Over time, folks have pointed out inconsistencies in her statements, and whispers about ties to shady players in the music world haven't helped her case. The way authorities quickly wrapped things up without digging deeper into other possibilities only made the whole situation feel even sketchier. And let's not forget the missing cash. Cooke was reportedly carrying a fat stack of money to cover upcoming gigs. But when he was found, his pockets were empty. So where did it go? Was it stolen, misplaced, or just lost in the chaos of that wild night? Nobody knows for sure. All these unanswered questions have kept people guessing for decades. What really went down at the Hacienda Motel that night? The truth is still buried, but the mystery, that's not going anywhere. Some believe Sam was set up. The motel had a bad reputation for illegal activities like prostitution. Some think Elisa tricked Sam into going there to rob him. The $5,000 he had that night was never found. Elisa also had a criminal past. Years later, in 1979, she was convicted of second-degree murder in a different case. Now, during Sam's funeral, Bobby Womack showed up at Sam Cooke's funeral wearing one of Sam's suits and driving Sam's car. If that wasn't enough, he was with Barbara, Sam's widow, on his arm. People were shocked and whispers filled the room. Sam's family said that after his body was prepared by the morticians in Los Angeles, it looked terrible. His face was badly damaged and his arms and hands were broken. His family demanded that the mortician fix it before his funeral in Chicago. When they brought Sam's body to Chicago, over 200,000 people came to see him, including friends like Dick Gregory, Smokey Robinson, and even Muhammad Ali. The service was emotional, with gospel music performed by the Staple Singers and Mavis Staples singing. But there was one part of the funeral that became even more dramatic. In Los Angeles, a second funeral took place. This is the one that caught Bobby Womack in the middle of all the controversy. Bobby was seen at this funeral not only escorting Sam's widow Barbara, but also wearing one of Sam's best suits. To make matters worse, gospel singer Bessie Griffin couldn't sing at the funeral because she was too emotional. So Ray Charles stepped in and performed the song Angels Keep Watching Over Me. But Bobby and Barbara didn't seem to care about what others thought. Just 2 months after Sam's death, they were at the LA County Courthouse, ready to get married. But there was a problem. Bobby was only 20 years old, and back then, you needed your parents' permission to get married if you weren't 21. Without it, their application was denied. Barbara didn't give up. She waited until Bobby turned 21. Bobby later revealed in his memoir that Barbara had proposed to him, saying, "Give me 5 years and I'll give you a lifetime." Their relationship caused a lot of drama. Many people saw it as disrespectful to Sam's memory. Some even accused Bobby of taking advantage of Barbara during a vulnerable time. Let's talk about what happened when Bobby married Barbara.
I was so crazy about Sam that the first thing that I said, I'm gonna protect his family.
On March 5th, just a few months after Cooke died, Bobby and Barbara decided to get married at the Los Angeles courthouse. It was the start of a new chapter in Bobby's life, but it came with huge problems. In his book, Bobby, the Midnight Mover, Bobby talks about how this marriage made him lose his family. He writes about how his brothers didn't want to be around him because they knew there were threats against him because of his marriage to Barbara. "Without them, I was totally alone," he says. His parents didn't approve of Barbara, so Bobby found himself with no family support. It was a lonely time for him.
You want to understand why he made the choices he made. It's not just like an open and closed book. You're curious as to what he was thinking when he married Barbara.
The Cooke family didn't like the marriage either, especially Bobby's brother, Charles. After the wedding, Charles told Bobby, "Man, anyone else could have married Sam's wife. But you, Sam loved you." He warned Bobby that if he ever came to Chicago, things could get ugly. Bobby knew exactly what Charles meant. Things with the Cooke family got violent too.
I'm going to take care of his family, and I really meant that from here. And that's what happened, but people looked at it different.
In his book, Bobby talks about an incident with Charles in Chicago. He says, "I figured if Charlie was going to do something, I wanted to get it over with. So Bobby and Barbara went to Chicago and stayed at the Roberts Motel. Bobby called Charles and told him where they were. When Charles showed up with his brothers, things turned physical fast. Charles punched Bobby and beat him so badly that Bobby's head swelled up and his teeth went through his lip. Bobby was knocked out cold and even had his jaw broken. Barbara, who had a mean streak, grabbed a gun. But when she pulled the trigger, nothing happened. Bobby had taken the bullets out earlier. After the beating, the police were called, and when they saw Bobby's condition, they arrested Charles. But Bobby didn't press charges, and Charles was released. Despite all this chaos, you'd think Bobby and Barbara would stick together, right? But that wasn't the case. Barbara ended up filing for divorce in 1970. Why? Because Bobby was sleeping with Barbara's teenage daughter, Linda. Bobby talks about the moment when Barbara found out. He was in Linda's room kissing her when Barbara walked in and yelled, "You dirty bastard! What are you doing with my daughter?" Barbara was furious and grabbed her gun, chasing Bobby out of the house. As he ran away, Barbara shot at him, but only grazed his head. Bobby and Barbara divorced in 1971 after 6 years of marriage and a son named Vincent. After the divorce, Bobby tried to start a relationship with Linda, but Linda wasn't interested. Instead, she ended up with Bobby's brother, Syl. Linda married Syl, had 7 kids, and even became part of a successful music duo called Whack and Whack. They had hits like "Baby, I'm Scared of You." Let's dive into a family story that's so confusing, it feels like a puzzle. Once you hear it, you'll see why it's like a big tangled web. Let's break it down to make it easier to follow. Linda is the daughter of Sam and Barbara Cooke. Sounds simple so far, right? But here's where things get tricky. Linda had an affair with Bobby Womack, who was married to her mom, Barbara. Yes, you heard that right, her mom. After that, Linda ended up marrying Bobby's brother, Cecil Womack. If you think that's the end of the drama, it's not. This whole mess involves 11 people: Barbara Cooke, Sam Cooke, Linda Cooke, Vince Cooke, Bobby Womack, Cecil Womack, Curtis Womack, Mary Wells, and their kids. Barbara and Sam Cooke had 3 children: Linda, Vince Cooke, and a boy named Vincent Wack. Sadly, Vince Cooke passed away when he was young. He might have drowned, but we're not sure. Barbara then had a son with Bobby Wack, and they named him Vincent after her son who passed away. Now, Bobby Wack, Cecil Wack, and Curtis Wack are brothers. Cecil Wack was married to Mary Wells, and they had 3 kids. Later, Cecil and Linda Cooke had 7 children together. That makes Linda's children with Cecil related to Bobby, her former lover, and her mom Barbara's ex-husband. It doesn't stop there. Mary Wells, who was married to Cecil, also cheated with Curtis Wack, adding more confusion to the family story. So, what do we have here? A family where relationships overlap, secrets come out, and everyone is connected in unexpected ways. It's no wonder this story is called The Web of Wack. It's a tangled family tree, full of love, heartbreak, and a whole lot of confusion. When I first heard about Bobby Womack, I thought he was just a man who stirred up trouble. But as I learned more, it became clear that his whole family was involved in one scandal after another. Brothers cheating with each other's wives, underage daughters getting involved with their stepdads, and friends betraying each other. It's non-stop drama.
Best friend he's got.
Remember that Womack song, I Wish He Didn't Trust Me So Much, made waves when it came out. People couldn't help but wonder if the song was inspired by Bobby's real-life drama with Barbara Cooke. The song starts with powerful lines. I'm the best friend he's got. I'd give him the shirt off my back. He knows he can trust me with his life, but each time he leaves me alone with his wife.
Give him the shirt off my back.
Songwriter Jonta Austin even tweeted about it. He said that considering Bobby showed up at Sam Cooke's funeral wearing Sam's suit, later married Sam's widow, and had a fling with Sam's daughter, the song felt like a savage diss track, as mentioned earlier. But Bobby explained that the song wasn't about any real affair. It was about a man fighting feelings for his friend's woman. The lyrics say, "There's a way she makes me feel. Lord, I'm scared, so scared of what I do if she starts feeling the same way too."
But it's something about the way she makes me feel.
Bobby also said in his memoir that his relationship with Barbara began after Sam's death. He insisted the song had nothing to do with Sam Cooke. In his memoir, he wrote, "I don't speak to Barbara no more. Linda doesn't speak to her. Haven't spoken to Cecil for years. No one speaks to no one." Womack opened up about his frequent drug use. He said he began using cocaine sometime in the late 1960s. He had become close friends with Sly Stone and was an enthusiastic participant in Stone's infamous drug binges. Womack told Rolling Stone in 1984, "I was really off into the drugs, blowing as much coke as I could blow, and drinking, and smoking weed and taking pills. Doing that all day, staying up 7-8 days. Me and Sly Stone were running partners." Womack also experienced temporary blindness after he suffered a concussion from a blow to his head when he flipped backwards over an amplifier during a recording session. His cocaine use turned into an addiction by the later on. He partially attributed his drug addiction to his infant son Truth's death, which he said changed him forever. Throughout most of the 80s, Womack struggled with a worsening addiction. During this period, his career slowed down significantly, partly as a result of his drug usage. In 1985, after completing 14 one-nighters, Womack was hospitalized after experiencing a blood circulation problem in his left leg. Toward the end of the 1980s, he went into a rehabilitation center to get over his cocaine addiction, which he said he conquered. Bobby survived prostate cancer. A series of health problems would follow, including diabetes, pneumonia, colon cancer, and early signs of Alzheimer's disease. He developed diabetes in his later years. It was revealed that Womack was diagnosed with colon cancer after Bootsy Collins reported it on his Facebook page. He announced afterwards that he was to undergo cancer surgery. On May 24, 2012, it was announced that his surgery to remove a tumor from his colon was successful, and he was declared cancer-free. On January 1, 2013, Womack admitted that he struggled to remember his songs and other people's names, and later he was diagnosed with early stages of Alzheimer's disease.
In early 2013, he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. The singer was saddened by the diagnosis, reportedly saying, "How can I not remember the songs that I wrote?"
Contact Music reported that Womack was working on a blues album called Living in the House of Blues, featuring collaborations with Stevie Wonder, Snoop Dogg, and Rod Stewart. In an interview with Uncut, Womack revealed that the follow-up album would now be called The Best Is Yet to Come and feature Tina Marie and Ronnie Isley. Womack sang a duet with Van Morrison titled Some Peace of Mind on Morrison's 2015 album, Duets Reworking the Catalog. Womack collaborated with Rudimental on New Day, a song taken from their second studio album, We the Generation. He had expressed an interest in working with the group, and they had exchanged ideas. Sadly, Womack's final concert was June 14, 2014, at the Bonnaroo Music Festival in Tennessee. Bobby passed away on June 27, 2014, at the age of 70. Bobby's ashes are now at the Forest Lawn Memorial Park Cemetery in Glendale, California, where he rests in peace. Sadly, months after Bobby died, there were reports that his family was still fighting over his estate. According to TMZ, his widow, Regina, filed child support court documents. She said Bobby owed money for 2 kids, one who was 14 years old and another who was 5. The court documents also mentioned unpaid loans that totaled around $400,000. Bobby's estate didn't have enough money to cover the debts, and the only things left behind were a '74 Buick and some jewelry worth just over $7,000. It's hard to think about a music legend like Bobby Womack dying without much money to leave to his loved ones. Some people might say this was bad karma for Bobby, especially after he married his friend's wife. But others might say life just wasn't fair to him. It's sad to see someone who gave us so many great songs end his life like this. Bobby's life wasn't perfect, but there's no denying his talent. Songs like If You Think You're Lonely Now and I Wish He Didn't Trust Me So Much are classics in soul and blues music. His lyrics were full of truth and pain, and looking back at his life, it's clear how much of his music reflected his struggles. In the end, Bobby Womack's life is a mix of amazing music and tough lessons. It's a reminder that sometimes even the most talented people can face struggles in life, no matter how much they've given to the world. What do you think? Was his tough ending the result of bad karma, or was it just life being unkind to him? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.